Protestants aren't big fans of saints, right? That's all Catholic stuff. Santa's Saint Nick.
Santa was in the manger. Santa was
Oh,
by the
Santa was there
manger.
2,000 years ago?
Look, this is
Gotcha.
America. Donald Trump was at the manger.
Right. Yep.
Santa Claus was
Hawk
there.
to a girl was there.
Elvis,
Yep.
the Hawk Tour girl was there. Selling her
Elvis.
Bitcoin. Anywho. Yeah, so I do love I was just saying to my beautiful wife that I miss English Christmas in an old church, smell of incense, those
Sure.
beautiful Christmas hymns just bouncing off the architecture. I love Christmas in the UK. It's
Interesting.
dark and cold and
Yeah.
I love it. It's just gorgeous. Like if you're in London, the lights
Yeah.
and that
Yeah.
6:30, it's beautiful down by the Thames and everything. So I do
Yep.
miss European Christmas. I find America's Christmas is a little bit brighter. Like you go to churches and they're well lit and they're very, I don't know, they're almost modern. They're not like
Okay.
1,000-year-old, right? There's nothing like standing in
Well,
a 1,000-year-old church.
no. Yeah. We killed all the people who had been here for 1,000 years.
Yeah. And actually,
Yeah.
in our churches, we probably killed thousands of people who didn't believe in God and stuff like that along the way, right?
Right.
In
Yeah,
those 1,000 years.
exactly. Her name was Bloody Mary for a reason.
Yeah. But there's nothing like it. And the carol singers on the streets, I miss the carol singers. It's not the same.
That's an actual thing that happened, or are you
yes.
like
Absolutely. See, the challenge is like, and especially where I live in South Florida, it's all strip malls, right? So
well, right, there's no
the,
place that's
yeah,
going to happen.
the
Yeah.
carol singers are at Walmart. So you see them on the way into Walmart and you see them on the way out. But in England, where town centers were popular when I was growing up,
Right.
there'd be carol singers because there'd be thousands of people shopping.
Sure.
I miss all that.
This is what car culture has taken from you. Everything is now a strip mall and parking lots so that you can have enough space for all of your cars. If you actually had cities designed to be livable, you would have town squares. You would have common places to go shopping. You wouldn't go to the mall. You'd go to the 5 locally owned shops in the town square.
Yeah, I don't want it back. I just miss it.
Yeah.
I'm good moving on. There's a lot of things I miss
sure.
that I think we just have to move on from. I was pretty good with a monarchy. I'm pretty sure I would have been okay with a monarchy. But...
Oh, God. Of course. Welcome to Acceptance Criteria, where we talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of how software gets made and how we can all do a better job together. My name is Kevin Thomas Euland, and across the chat from me is Andrew Greener. Say hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew. We're also here to get deeper on the human elements. I could go on for an eternity about people and how they think about the process of building complex systems, and I can't think of two better people to do that than Kevin and I.
Fortunately, we're looking for third opinions, so if you've got a topic you'd like to come discuss or rant about, drop us a note and we'll see if we can get you on a future episode. You can go to acceptancepod.com/guest and submit your ideas. And a quick reminder, whether this is your first episode or you've been listening for a while, we wouldn't say no to your going and dropping 5 stars on Apple Podcast or Spotify and leaving us a nice review. And if you want to leave us a bad review, remember the name of the podcast is New Heights. Also tell your friends if you like the show and they should check us out. Some of the best podcasts out there go by word of mouth and we'd much appreciate it.
And a friendly reminder that we are always interested in hearing questions directly from you, our listeners, especially for our segment user stories. If you've got a scenario you'd like help with, whether it's working with a problematic engineering or product team member, trying to navigate the never-ending pitfalls with agile processes, or you just can't understand why your favorite app is evolving away from what drew you to it in the first place, we're here to talk it through with you. You can send those questions to acceptancepod@gmail.com or submit them on the Discord in the user stories channel, and we might be able to help on a future episode. And we're happy to keep it anonymous so no one can trace it back to you if you end up talking a coworker or something.
On this week's show, we'll be talking over some recent news stories from the world of tech. But before we get to all of that, let's take a short break and we'll be right back. All right, welcome back. This is a segment we like to call Market Factors, where we talk about industry news stories and trends we're observing. Mostly it's an excuse to rag on bad decisions and argue with each other whether some new piece of tech is worth it. All right, this is a TechCrunch article. How do you say this company's name? Zoox? Zoox? Zoox. Zook's co-founder. Yeah,
Zeus?
it's a weird Zoos. Yeah, because sometimes the X is a Z sound.
Yeah. Oh, it'd be better actually if they were like, it's actually Zhoosh.
Zhooks.
Zhoosh.
It's Zhooks.
Oh, that would be great. Zhoosh.
Zhooks co-founder on Tesla self-driving. Quote, they don't have technology that works. So in this TechCrunch article, Zooks co-founder and CTO Jesse Levinson doesn't believe Tesla will launch a robotaxi ride-hailing service in California or anywhere else next year, despite what Elon Musk recently claimed. Quote, the fundamental issue is they don't have technology that works. And by works, I want to differentiate between a driver assistance system that drives most of the time, except when it doesn't, and then you have to take over, versus a system that's so reliable and robust that you don't need a person in it. Usually it does the right thing, and then it sort of lulls you into this false sense of complacency, and then it does the wrong thing, he said. You're like, oh my god. And there's no real news benefit to this. I just think Elon Musk is a moron, and anytime I can have somebody call him a moron and say his
Oh,
technology is bad, I'm going to add it to the document, and we're going to make fun of how terrible Elon Musk's companies are. Tesla, especially Tesla, who are doing things that should be illegal, and the next 4 years of Elon Musk making sure that regulations of Tesla, and watch any video about the new Model 3 and the fact that if you're in the back seat and the power goes out, there's no manual way to open the door. You have to crawl into the front seat and then crawl out the door. Simple things. These are badly designed cars that are killing people, and Tesla's bad, and Elon Musk is bad.
the only fair way for you to keep stabbing at Elon is to give me 2 or 3 of your heroes that I can
This
go
is the
research who've done bad
right.
things. Because,
This
you
is
know,
why I don't make people into heroes. You shouldn't heroize any heroize. I don't know what the right word is for that. You shouldn't. People will always disappoint you. You should find the things that are good that they say and do that you want to take for yourself, but people can disappoint you, and you shouldn't have anything emotionally or mentally tied into their success or failure.
yeah, because it's tough for me. Because I think Elon's incredibly frustrating. However, he fits my agenda in that
Yeah.
he progresses humanity.
At the stake, at the cost of current humanity. Yeah.
But that should be the way it is, though, right? Like
No.
every generation should sacrifice something.
No.
Like
It'd be
in the
nice if the
40s.
generations that sacrificed in the past. We had a generation that sacrificed itself to stop Nazis.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
we let the Nazis come back.
Yeah, yeah.
We spit in the face of the greatest generation by having Trump in office. JD Vance, who invited Elon Musk just this week, endorsed the neo-Nazi party in Germany. Bad people. Why are we allowing them? You're spitting on the face of the sacrifice of the greatest generation by allowing all of these people to
Yeah.
revisit. It's the 1940s again.
But it's like if you were having a neighborhood party, right? You're in college. You're at your frat. You can't know everybody who's at your party.
Yeah, but you know that Elon Musk is at your party. You know the things Elon Musk has said. You know the things JD Vance has said.
Yeah.
You know the things Trump has said. These are the leaders of your party. They're the ones throwing the party. You decided to
No,
come to
they're
this
not
party.
throwing the party. No, no.
They are now. They are
No,
now.
I'm throwing the
Yeah.
party, and they're there, and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm gonna go over and be cordial and talk to them and do that, and it's cool because they brought some really good drinks with them, and the music and the DJ, and they played great. Oh yeah, it's that party.
Yeah, it's their party.
But then, like the far right and the white supremacists and all that, yeah, they're the bad kids, right? You don't go near. That's the Republican Party these days.
Yeah, it's really bad.
I know it is.
Yeah.
It's really bad.
Yeah.
You know what's even funny? I was listening to a stand-up comedian the other day who was talking about how I guess it must have been some building that got burned down. It was going to be an abortion clinic.
I saw this clip.
You
Yeah.
saw this?
Yep.
The Republicans are arguing that it's not an abortion clinic yet until
It was just a
opens.
construction site.
Right, it's just
Yep.
a construction. But the Democrats are arguing like, no, the minute you break dirt, like that is an abortion clinic, and it's like
So it was a hate crime, and it's like, yes, it
it's
was.
like you're arguing the opposite argument.
Right.
Oh, it's great. Yeah, it's great. This country is
It's
simmering.
fascinating. Also, when Elon blew up the continuing resolution this week,
Oh yeah.
the new version of the continuing resolution, funny, had all of the restrictions on investments in China taken out. So Elon can continue his investments in building Tesla AI chips over in China for cheap. So China, bad sometimes when it comes to TikTok, but good when Elon, the president-elect effectively, can have his business interests be supported by it. Elon Musk,
We need chips.
super cool
though.
dude.
We need chips.
We don't need chips.
We
We
do.
need to stop all of this AI nonsense.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. What's the next story about?
Speaking of AI nonsense, this one might be okay. I need to read into this. So, this startup is using AI to supercharge crop breeding. It could help protect farmers from the climate crisis. So, there's a company called Avalo that uses an algorithm to identify the genetic basis of a complex traits like drought or pest resistance in hundreds of crop varieties and then helps the farmers figure out how to do that pairing together. I do want to know what type of machine learning this is because this is where I argue that generative AI is ruining the AI brand. And if this is an interesting type, there are types of machine learning that don't require draining Colorado of all of its water to cool the GPUs. There's versions of AI that are machine learning algorithms that are really interesting. And I'm not super happy that, Google's DeepMind is pretty power intensive, but it's better than ChatGPT. There are versions of this that are interesting. And I don't know what type this company uses, but I'm open to this as a concept. Although we've also run into situations, the reason people don't like GMOs is a bunch of reasons, but one of the reasons is also you sometimes accidentally overbreed a crop, and now the crop is wildly susceptible to a thing you weren't aware of, and a single pest can go and actually decimate your entire economy. So I'm curious if this is actually sounds
I,
better than
I,
it could be. We don't know that you don't get to complain about processed foods possibly screwing your grandkids. You don't know the impact of this in the future.
I'm sorry. I was stuck on the overbreeding and I was thinking like they must have cornos instead of pornos.
Oh my god.
You
I
have
think
to leave that one in.
we'll see. Corn being the thing that you say on TikTok to get around the word ban. When you want to say that you do porn, you say that you do corn. So
Is
I
that
know what types of TikToks you watch.
is that true?
Yeah, that's why there's all the weird terminology that people have come up with to get around TikTok noticing a topic that they don't want you to say. So you can't say murder or dead or suicide, you say unalived because that's the way that they
Oh
found
my
to.
gosh.
You can't say sex. I don't remember what you say instead of sex. And porn, they don't say the word porn, they say the corn emoji.
Oh, so I just inadvertently stumbled upon something I did not know. So there's
Yeah.
no porn allowed on TikTok
No.
at all.
No, but there is interestingly porn allowed on Twitter still.
I just thought it was like a good dad
A
joke.
dad joke? Yeah,
Yeah.
sorry. You're late to the party.
I mean, apparently it was a really good joke because it is standard.
Yeah.
So,
But yeah, I think there's an interesting thing here. I think DeepMind doing the molecule folding in order to create proteins. I think there's some interesting applications of machine learning that could be good if they don't go so crazy power hungry that we're building new
yeah,
coal reactor plants.
I guess that's what somebody like me would say to somebody like you who's much more conscientious is like just chill, let it happen. It's like the industrial revolution, right? They're chopping down all the trees and the guy who knows better is looking and saying, this is not good, right? Like there's gonna be no trees left, we're gonna run out, right? And then it happens, it's like you kinda had to do it. You kinda had to make that mistake and now I can show you why it's bad, right? Like look at all the effects of this. We have to do that.
No, we know ahead of time. We've known that climate change is a problem since the
But
70s.
but that's a
We've known
yeah.
this is a thing that we can choose not to do. And by the way, this company, one of the things that they're doing is trying to figure out how to have crops survive droughts. Droughts are going to get worse thanks to climate change, and the AI that's driving this company might be contributing to the climate change that's going to make the droughts worse. So you're solving a problem you helped create. Yeah.
Progress.
No. Not worth it.
Well, and we joke. I joke. I agree with you. I just know they're going to do it. So then you may as well apply your brilliance to helping them do it the right way.
There is no right way depending on the type of machine learning. Until somebody turns the Stanford research on cold fusion into actual output, and that is going to face massive headwinds from all of the entrenched current power companies. So anybody who produces petroleum and oil right now is going to do everything in their power to stop somebody who comes up with cold fusion from actually doing it. So until a new power source actually shows up and does what it needs to do, these investments don't make sense.
You'll end up disappearing like those whistleblowers.
I mean, this is the concern. At some point, do I have that in the doc yet? Yet another whistleblower mysteriously
Yeah.
committed suicide. At some point, I almost said Elon Musk. Putin keeps pushing people out of windows. At some point, guys.
I saw a George Clooney movie where he's like a lawyer or something. He's like a fixer.
Oh, what is the name of that movie? Yeah, I know the movie you're talking about.
It's
Yeah,
like it's not tobacco, it's chemicals or something, right? Like
something like that. What's the name of that movie? It starts with an S, maybe?
it's he's like a fixer, Michael Clayton.
Oh yeah, that is Michael
Michael
Clayton.
Clayton. The scene where the professional assassins take out the old British guy. I don't
I
know
do
the
not remember
character's
that at
name,
all.
but
I remember there's a car explosion that I remember at one point, and that's all I remember from that movie.
it's the scene, and it's a spoiler, people. So if you haven't seen Michael Clayton, that's what I'm
Skip
talking
ahead
about.
15 seconds.
So, but it's very clinical how they assassinate this guy, syringe between the toes, and they sort of
Sure.
spray him in the face, and it's just, oh, he's like paralyzed, and he's sort of aware, like he's aware of like what they're doing, but he's paralyzed. So it's like, oh, it's so harrowing, so very cold.
It's terrifying.
And that's why I would say that wouldn't be so bad if it was machines doing it. You'd be like, oh, okay, they don't know any better. Not
No.
humans. Yeah, it's evil.
All right, this one we're going to argue about. So, this is a Bloomberg article. OpenAI, Google, and Anthropic are struggling to build more advanced AI. From the article, OpenAI isn't alone in hitting stumbling blocks recently. After years of pushing out increasingly sophisticated AI products at a breakneck pace, 3 of the leading AI companies are now seeing diminishing returns from their costly efforts to build newer models. Still, AI companies continue to pursue a more is better playbook. In their quest to build products that approach the level of human intelligence, tech firms are increasing the amount of computing power, data, and time they use to train new models, and driving up costs in the process. One of the people in the article has said companies will spend $100 million to train a bleeding-edge model this year, and that amount will hit $100 billion in the coming years. And if you've ever seen one of those examples where they pour rice on a table and show you the difference between a million and a billion, the difference between 100 million and 100 billion is astronomical. Like Google and Anthropic, OpenAI is now shifting attention from the size of these models to newer use cases, including a crop of AI tools called agents that can book flights or send emails on a user's behalf. They've given up on getting the things to be smarter, and they're just turning them into bots, which they already kind of were, but they're calling bots agents now. It's a stupid rebranding of crappy tech. Quote, "We will have better and better models," Sam Altman wrote on Reddit, "but I think the thing that will feel like the next giant breakthrough will be agents." So they've given up on trying to convince you that ChatGPT 5 is going to be amazing and think like a human, and that they're just going to rebrand their crappy little bots as agents and somehow have them get specific on their tasks. And I've got a couple more articles here, but I'll take a breath and you can try to disagree with me.
Yeah, I just disagree with everything I mean, I just disagree with. I know what you're thinking, and I just disagree. I just think never in the history of tech has there been such a successful paradigm shift. Like AI in a very short space of time is everywhere. It's glorious. I love it. And yeah, there's some power challenges, and
The
they hallucinate,
hallucinations,
and the
yep,
quality. It's
is
just
not there.
but the quality on so many other things is just not there. Like, and I know you're gonna say that's a whataboutism, but I'm saying like it's imperfection in an imperfect world. Like we make movies about how beautiful that is. So the AI is a child right now, and it's growing up, and in 20 years, it's gonna be doing things that we never dreamed of. Right? Like it's saving lives.
That's what this art it is saving
It's
lives.
saving
There's
lives.
cite your source. Tell me an example of an AI
Oh,
saving a
it is.
life.
Hang on.
Mm-hmm.
AI
He
saving
needs to
lives.
go Google AI
Here we
saving
go.
lives.
This is the National Institute of Health, right? AI will detect disease earlier, improve access to care, and help develop personalized therapeutic plans that might prevent, control, or even ... This is the National Institute of Health. Like, it's going to save lives. Like, how many lives does it have to save before we stop worrying about the climate?
Uh, Infinite, because the climate will kill the rest of us. It won't matter. And by
I,
the way, this is what I was saying earlier. I shouldn't say what I was saying earlier. I have no idea what'll get edited in or out of the episode. There are cases where machine learning is good and absolutely can figure out how to save lives. Generative AI, the thing that these companies are tripling down on and has hit a wall. The Verge article, is AI hitting a wall? Everyone in AI seems to agree that new models are hitting a scaling wall. Now the buzz is turning to, quote, reasoning and AI agents. And AI agents are the worthless little things that can't actually help you with anything. They hallucinate. You can trick them into agreeing with you. It's not worth the cost. $100 billion. Do you know how many things we could solve in this world by spending $100 billion on it? If you had solved the homelessness, if you had solved world hunger, if you had gotten to a post-scarcity world and then said, now we have all of this money left over that we can go and do these cool things, and we are going to do this, or we're going to actually solve some of these problems, but they're not. An agent that can book a flight? The fuck are you talking about? Expedia has been able to book a flight for me for 20 years.
I have noticed an increased quality in the bots that I've been talking to. And yeah,
Uh-huh.
that's good. I've
So we
noticed the
replaced a
quality.
human being who did the same job, so we put people out of work so that a bot could do it for us at the same speed. Uh-huh.
I don't know what the SLAs and the metrics are like, the KPIs around that stuff. I don't know. But
Uh-huh.
yeah, we kind of knew this was going to happen, right? It has to happen.
It doesn't, because you have no evidence that you have zero evidence.
Sci-fi has already dictated it has to happen. Like everything I've dreamt of my whole life is happening, right? Sometimes I know this sounds crazy, listeners, but sometimes I think that somebody's just tapping into my thoughts. Like this is gonna happen. We're gonna send information through the quantum. We're gonna one day have chips, and we're gonna beam into our eyes, and we're gonna experience flying. By it's gonna happen. It's all gonna happen.
But you're ignoring the evidence that the technology isn't there. The power consumption is too high. We don't have sufficiently advanced technology to power this. The processing power that we do have is hitting, like, everyone in these industries is telling you we're hitting walls, it's not working. The next article I have here is from TechCrunch. OpenAI's O1 model sure tries to deceive humans a lot. In our suite, O1 showed the most concerning instances of scheming, but does not reveal its internal reasoning to the user and remains the most consistently deceptive after having taken scheming actions. To address deceptive behavior from AI models, OpenAI says it is developing ways to monitor O1's chain of thought. Currently, the thinking process that O1 undertakes is a bit of a black box by design, but some early attempts at peeking behind the curtain show that O1 occasionally knows it's lying. The next article, a blog from ar15.org, horrifying that I didn't realize that's the name of the site that I was linking to. LLMs will always hallucinate, and we need to live with this. We demonstrate that every stage of the LLM process, from training data compilation to fact retrieval, intent classification, and text generation, will have a non-zero probability of producing hallucinations. This work introduces the concept of structural hallucinations as an intrinsic nature of these systems. So what I'm saying to you is, your future is currently blocked by technical limitations. Quantum computing chips aren't there. We don't have cold fusion or some power source that doesn't kill the planet along the way. So until those things come along, why are we spending $100 billion to get a model that's 10% better? It's a bad investment. It's a bad business case.
Nah, because
So you're just going to ignore the evidence. The evidence in front of you, your lying eyes,
mhm.
that's not the reality of the situation. You're just
No, it's
sticking your
not
head in the
that.
sand and
It's
saying,
that
la la la, I get
it's
to have a future where my great grandchildren who survived the apocalypse get to know what it's like to fly? Is that your argument?
yeah. I mean,
Uh,
we're gonna go there, right? Like we're gonna go there. I'm not saying we should. We're on the same side of this. I'm just saying we will. Like we're gonna keep banging our heads against the wall with all of this stuff under the we're perfecting it for
But
the
why aren't you
time.
annoyed that your future is going to arrive slower because we're not investing in the right things?
Yeah,
So
I'm
that money
frustrated.
could be yeah.
I'm frustrated,
So
but I also after 40, oh, my wife reminded me today, 48. I keep saying 47 years. After 48 years, me expecting somebody to show up and be like, oh, yeah, okay, you know what, that $100 billion, and we only have a year and a half to do this, right? So I'm going to come back with a project plan, and it's going to be very efficient, and it's going to be very economical. Nobody ever in the history of my life has ever rolled out anything well, including architecture and technology and software and policies and all this. Immigration is another thing. Immigration policies. It's like they dragged people out of their homes, took them overseas, didn't change education or religion or anything. They didn't care. They just stuck them in factories and didn't assimilate anyone into culture. That is what we do. We suck at projects. So they will keep wasting money, and you and I will keep knowing it's not logical, but they'll keep doing it. And I'm okay with it because in my lifetime, all of the cool stuff that I'll miss, right? I'll get to see and I'll get to dream a little bit and I'll get to think. And smarter people than me, book smarter people than me, who committed to formal education, will solve things during our lifetime that save lives, even though we set ourselves back in other areas. And that's the weird balance. That's where it becomes opinion then. Like if this generation cures this disease but they destroyed the planet, how do you measure the success of that generation?
by the genocide of the human race?
Yeah, but we won't kill everyone, right? Like the planet's
That
not
sucks for the
going.
7 billion who don't make it.
But why would everyone die?
Because that's what climate change is going to do. It's going to force.
No. Nah, we'll
Yes.
be right. We'll be right.
No.
We will.
No, it's worse than Mad Max.
Oh no, I don't believe that. What do you mean worse than Mad Max? How quick? How quick do you think we go Mad Max?
we go Mad Max pretty quickly, and that doesn't matter because the collapse of all of the other species means that our food chain dries up, and so it doesn't matter that some people are able to survive. The vast majority, you won't be able to feed the world. The extinction of the species is the problem. It's yeah, the sea level's rising, and you're gonna lose your home, and Florida's underwater, so problem solved there for Florida. But the real issue is extinction of the species, and the species that we are dependent on for how we survive. You all are going to end up in a bunker drinking Soylent and then just kill yourselves because Jesus Christ, that's a horrifying future.
Nah, we'll be all right. Be all right.
Yeah.
We'll be all right.
All
We'll be fine. People,
right.
it's not all doom and gloom. That reminded me of that scene in Newsroom where the guy's talking about the climate and they're trying to get him because he goes on and in the scene he's sort of talking about like it's too late and they're like, well, what can we do to change the climate? And he's like, no, I'm telling you like it's too late. Like if we'd have started 15 years ago, maybe there's
Right.
something we could have done. And they want him to make it more positive. They're like, well, this is doom and gloom. And he's like, yeah.
Yep.
And
Yep.
yeah, that's so our listeners, that's what you sound like right now.
Yeah, sorry that the hard truth of the situation we're in, we reversed any positive climate impact that we were having. Biden was the most eco, green, forward thinking president we've ever had. His policies in the Inflation Reduction Act and everything else that he passed in the last 4 years were making an impact. And then this push for generative AI fully reversed that. So
know.
we are now back at 1.5 degrees change in the next. It's horrifying, terrifying, all of the bad verbs. Sorry, adjectives.
I know you're gonna cut this out, but it's kind of ironic that he's the greenest president, but he's now also a vegetable, right?
I might leave that in. Joe Biden is why we are in the situation we're in. He never should have run for re-election. We should have had an actual primary. We could have actually had more then. It turns out I was wrong. You can't run a campaign in 100 days. There was no way to battle the electorate's perception that Joe Biden was responsible for inflation. No, Joe Biden is everything that happens in the next 4 years is not entirely Joe Biden's fault. Donald Trump is a fascist prick, but Joe Biden did not set this country up for success because he was selfish and wanted a second term. And it's real bad. So I might leave that in.
I'm gonna do my Joe Biden impression as my
Oh
response to
God,
what you
that
just
I
said.
might cut out. Are you just gonna be quiet and dead? Yeah,
Yeah,
it's bad.
it's
Yeah,
bad.
it's bad.
It was
The
really
stories
bad.
that are coming out now about like in the summer of 2021, so he'd been in office for like 4 months, and they knew today was a bad day, so they couldn't do national security discussions with him, and they had to wait for him to have a good day. It's what we're finding out now is real bad. Yeah, Jimmy Carter probably can now die not being the worst Democrat president we've ever had because Joe Biden is just really. Kevin from the future just popping in to say we obviously recorded this in December before President Jimmy Carter passed away. RIP. Back to the episode. Yeah.
That's insane. I didn't know about this.
Yeah, it's not great, Joe.
Oh no.
Yep. All right, unless existential news, the NYC comptroller and taxi workers demand an end to the locking out of drivers. So it turns out Uber and Lyft implemented lockouts to exploit a loophole in New York City's driver minimum pay law, which requires the apps to pay drivers for their time in between trips. An investigation from Bloomberg found that Uber and Lyft lockouts significantly reduced income for drivers, leading to longer hours for less pay. By artificially inflating their utilization rate through lockouts, in which the driver couldn't get access to new rides, and so they were not technically in between trips at that point, the rideshare apps could cheat drivers collectively out of over $1 billion, billion with a B, annually going forward. So part of this is a loophole in how they dealt with the New York City regulation, and part of it was also creating artificial demand by having fewer drivers appear to be available, and so it also messed with their ability to then do surge pricing. So Uber and Lyft, terrible companies. They're disruptors in that bullshit Silicon Valley way of they took an existing industry and added tech to it, but didn't actually make it any better. And I don't know that NYC and the comptroller and the taxi workers are actually going to get Uber to change anything because Eric Adams is a Republican and not an actual Democrat in charge of New York City. But yeah, Uber and Lyft, anti-worker, horrible companies that I don't know why why are they in business? Why are you allowed to do this? It's if you can't actually just survive in the market you're entering and you have to do all of this artificial nonsense, then that's not capitalism. That's not being competitive. You don't have a business model. Your business model is cheating and screwing people. You.
You know what's going to fix this?
What? Self-driving cars?
Self-driving cars, Waymo,
Yeah.
problem solved in a way. And again, listeners, I'm not advocating for that. I'm just telling
Mm.
you what's going to happen.
Mhm.
I don't understand stingy companies. In this case, I don't know the economics and the financials for Uber and Lyft. I assume that that's a tough business, right? Like there's some like financial institutions that look and I'm like, you're just tight. You're just tight. Like everybody knows how much money you made last year. You're tight, right? With your workers. But I don't know with Uber and Lyft whether that $1 billion saved allows them the runway to keep employing all these people, right?
Almost certainly it doesn't, but sure, let's give Silicon Valley, whose entire goal is shifting profits from workers to the 150 investors who own shares in them. I mean, right? Like,
But that's what we need to know.
sure, why did they've done nothing to earn that benefit of the doubt, though.
No, but that's the challenge though, right? Like, because that is the magic, the motivation.
Yeah, but if the only way your technology can stay in business is by screwing the employees who actually make your technology work, then get out of that business. You didn't need this. Taxis didn't need this. There were problems with taxis, and yes, being able to schedule one, there is a version of technology which could have helped this situation. There's a ton of racism in taxis. Ask any black man who tries to hail a taxi in New York City, and he's not going to get a taxi because it was a human being, right? Like there are parts of this story which I get why technology could have been helpful, but when the only solution is to screw the worker, because and this is the thing is I don't believe that these companies need to screw $1 billion annually out of their drivers in order to keep the tech running. They have done nothing but prove to me that they're doing it so that they can juice their margins and pay out dividends to their shareholders. And shareholders don't need dividends. Thank you.
Yeah, if it's if it's for the shareholders, I'm with you then. I if it was, but if it's also survival, then I can understand the tightening, right? And the people are always going to suffer, right? The workers. I just think about this. It was weird because it's 48 years and I've worked nearly every day, right, since I was 16. And I was thinking about this the other day where I was like, actually, I don't have a problem with any company I've ever worked for. Like, I feel fortunate to have worked for them. It's weird, right? I don't hate any of them, which has been nice because I
Sure.
imagine if I'd worked in certain sectors, I wouldn't feel that way.
Right.
There's definitely some notoriety in different sectors, and there's definitely companies, and there's definitely individuals. For you, it's Musk, right? But yeah, I don't know. Is this worse than what happened to the workers back in the old days?
That's why we formed unions, so we would stop doing that to workers. That's why you have weekends.
Yeah, but then the union, there's never been a squeaky clean movement, right? Because like the unions found, but then the unions were up to no good. So
Sure.
even the guys who want to solve these problems were up to no good. And
Yeah, but getting rid of the union because there was corruption is like saying we should get rid of democracy because there's corruption. No, we should just solve the corruption problem. And the problem is these systems are insulated from solving that problem. And collective action through the government could deal with that. The government could choose to regulate itself. The government could choose to ensure that corruption in unions and other things doesn't happen. It's kind of like communism is an interesting idea that's never once not turned into authoritarianism because human beings suck and don't actually know how to implement these systems. I'm not disagreeing with that, but throwing the union out because a couple of the union bosses were corrupt is bad too.
but I guess that's in a way you could argue, not that I fully subscribe to this idea, but that is what the modern Republican Party will argue they're doing, right? They're going into a corrupt government and shaking the tree and changing it all and mixing it all up, and they consider it to be bloated. So that is kind of what that they ran on that. Not that their policies necessarily
Their
say follow
policies
it.
don't match that. So giving the Republicans credit for lying to their voters and then putting a billionaire in who is the definition of corrupt, 34 felony counts of corrupt financial
Is it
practices.
35? I thought it was 32.
It was 34.
Are you sure it's still 34? I thought a couple of them had been.
No, that judge said that we're not going to toss that out, I
Ah,
think.
okay.
Or one of the cases didn't get tossed out by the judge.
Well, anyway, I'm happy that in my lifetime, I'm not happy about how it came about, and I'm not super psyched on who the actors are, but I'm
Mhm.
psyched that there's always has to be an event. The French, they act, Albania. So this country is going through a change, which right now is painful for some and not for others. But the trees need shaking, right? Like it's a weird stew right now. Yeah, the tree needs shaking.
The tree needs shaking. Currently, your person shaking the tree is a lumberjack, but sure.
That's what I say. I
Uh-huh.
don't know if I'd necessarily pick this
Uh-huh.
magnificent seven, but things need to change. We need to start. We can't carry on like this, right?
Hashtag free Luigi.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow.
Oh wow. I'm pretty sure you're gonna be cutting that out, right?
I don't know that I am. This system.
Just so everybody knows, listeners, don't cut this bit out. I do not endorse hashtag free Luigi.
But Daniel Perry, who's allowed to murder a homeless black man on the subway, he gets to go free. So
I-
murder is sometimes okay in our system, apparently.
That's a tough one. Yeah, I don't
And
want
then
to get
gets an
into that.
invite from the White House elect to come hang out with them in a fancy sports box.
It's a hard one as a father of two small kids. If I was on a train and someone was acting crazy and saying stuff like that, yeah, I don't know enough about the.
Yeah, murder doesn't have to be on the table for that.
I know, I know, I know. I
Yeah,
just,
we know what chokeholds do.
yeah,
Yeah.
unfortunate.
Uh-huh. All right, well, that's going to do it for us on this episode of Acceptance Criteria. To read articles that we've written on similar topics to the ones we talk about here, head over to the blog at acceptancepod.com.
You can also follow us on most apps. We're at Acceptance Pod. We'll post links to show notes and any articles from the blog on there. We're also building a community on Reddit at r/acceptance criteria and on Discord. You can find both links in the show notes and on the blog. And I promise we'll be moderating the crap out of them to keep it a nice little slice of the internet.
For now, I'm Kevin Thomas Euland, and you can find me on most apps at kthomaseuland. That's ULLAND.
And I'm Andrew Greener, and you can find me on most apps at Criteria Greener. That's GREINER. And this has been Acceptance Criteria. Thank you for listening, and we look forward to hearing from you.